rhino vipers, puff adders, gaboons. We're doing the African heavyweights, and we're going to give you some captive care tips. So hang in there. We're going to get busy this evening.
Fangs in your face. Subscribe now.
African heavyweights, the gaboons, the rhino vipers, the puff adders. Tonight, we're going to give you some captive care tips while I'm servicing some cages, and y'all can pick up some tips and tricks that I use here at the Serpent Center, and we're going to have some fun. And stay for the whole video because we're going to do some fangs in your face feedings tonight. Hey y'all, I know it's been a minute since we've been on YouTube, but we've been swamped. It's baby season. Literally just swamped with babies. I mean, it's just been crazy here. Eyelash vipers, we're over like 60 something babies born with the schlegs. The black-headed bushmasters are all hatched out. The stenopheres are all hatched out. So we've been swamped with baby work. Dina just came in here and bulldogged her way in here while I'm in here servicing all the bitted stuff tonight, all the big African vipers. I'm right in the middle of servicing the puff adder exhibit. So I've had a lot of messages from people asking me about captive care on rhino vipers and gaboons. And I've had a few messages about puff adders. So I'm gonna give you all some tips and tricks that I use to keep my stuff healthy and how I raise things, temps, humidity, substrate, all of the above. I've already got this massive puff adder in the can, and we're gonna put her back in her exhibit. I've already cleaned her exhibit, fresh water, the whole 9 yards, and we're gonna feed her tonight. So we're gonna do some fangs in your face stuff with the big African heavyweights. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun tonight, feeding some stuff too. Hey, a big thank you to all of our sponsors. We couldn't do it without you guys. Hey, so y'all been asking for informative captive care video. This one's probably going to be pretty long, so it's going to be in 2 parts. We're going to start tonight with the puff adders. This female, let me tell you something. She's got a damn story. I got these puff adders as they were babies. They were brand new babies. I mean, they were just tiny little guys. Raised them up 7-8 years and got them all pretty big. And these are the Namibian puff adders. The males get brilliant, beautiful yellow, and we'll pop a picture of the male in there. And the females they're beautiful also, but they get much larger. And I went ahead and decided to propagate them this year and breed them. And we've been successful the past couple of years with them. We've produced babies. I always keep the male on exhibit because he's so beautiful. So I pulled the male off exhibit, and I want to breed this monster female. And she's big. She's a big puff adder. You'll see that in a minute. And I went ahead and cycled them and put the male in with her. And I had copulation within a few hours. I checked them. They were locked up, copulated, outstanding. So I left them. Came up the next morning. This is upstairs in the lab, right? Not down here in the exhibit room. And there's the female with about this much of the male's tail sticking out of her mouth. She killed him and ate him. Now, mind you, she's pushing 5.5 foot maybe, and he was about 4, and he was a big snake also, but she literally killed him and ate him. And I have never had that happen with a bit of species, with anything. I've had baby eyelash vipers eat each other. I've had big adult female eyelash vipers eat a smaller male. Cobras will kill and eat each other at times. Monocles. I mean, I've had other snakes do it. But to show that ophidious behavior in bittis was really puzzling to me. I've never seen it. This was 3-4 months ago, okay? And I have not fed her since because she's had a meal that'll hold her over. But if she doesn't have babies, I swear to God, I'm gonna lose it. I'll put her in with Diesel. But she's an impressive specimen. but she did take my mail from me, so she better replace them. We're going to pull her out, put her back in the exhibit. Y'all can get a look at her. She's a monster puff adder. She's weighing in just at about 14, maybe 15 pounds now. The last time I weighed her, she was 14 plus. She's a big puff adder. So we're going to pull her out and get busy. We're going to pull her out of this can, get her out, show y'all, and then we're going to put her back in her exhibit, and we will feed her this evening. You should have seen the cage after she ate the mail. It looked like a bomb went off in it. It looked like a crime scene. It really did. I got her in this big brute can. This is like standard snake equipment right here. These cans are awesome. The Rubbermaid brutes, and these are different than the regular Rubbermaid ones. These are the industrial ones, you know. And this is the 55-gallon one. This is the big one. I've got a couple smaller ones I use upstairs in the lab and stuff. I put handles on my cans, and of course this one says Bushmasters only because she won't fit in the other cans. So I gotta use the big can, and of course I'll disinfect this can in between animals. That's just one of my bugaboos. So I disinfect them in between species. I use a big handle on there just so I can use that as a shield, and so I'm not putting my hands around the rim. You know, we just screw a handle on there and you got yourself a nice shield there. It's like Spartan, but I always put a block of wood behind it so it's nice and secure. If you order a can, do it through our link and we get a little piece of it. That is 15 pounds of puff adder, Bitis arietans, Namibian puff adder. And I'll tell you, I've had a few people ask me, they said, man, that female you got is a monster, and we didn't think that that this locality of puff adder gets this big, but she does. She is. I actually should use my bigger hook, because she barely fits in this hook, in the loop of this hook. All right, good girl. Oh, she's heavy. I gotta get her like this because she's heavy. That is a big puff adder. She doesn't even fit in the mouth of that hook. I got to kind of cradle her that way. But look at the size of that snake. Do you got her all in there, Dave?
I do. I was going to say go back a little. She's pretty big.
Yeah, look at how wide she is. She is just a damn monster as a puff adder. I've had some in the past that were a little bit bigger, but they were a different locality. But this one, she's a big old girl. And she's a stone cold killer. Let me tell you. Just a quick tip, y'all. Tailing a snake. I've seen people do this on social media. I've seen people do it in person. Reach down and grab a snake by the tail, then put the hook in front of it and lift it. And that is the wrong thing to do. Always make sure you've got that hook up under that snake and you lift that snake up off the ground before you go to grab that tail on a large specimen, because you want to break that chance of that snake swinging backwards and biting you. So, and she can't because she barely fits in this hook because she's so wide, but always lift the front part of that snake up before you decide to go ahead and put your hand on it, okay? And when lifting a heavier specimen like this, I like to go underneath and get my palm underneath this way and then readjust and lift the animal like so. But that's my big mean puff adder. And she's actually pretty docile. She's a sweetheart. She's just she decides to eat her mates. But so we're gonna put her back in the exhibit, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about how to raise these guys successfully and keep them healthy. All right, big mama, get in there. Keeping puffs. raising them from babies to adults or whatever the case may be. Let me tell you, it's just, everybody's got the urge to want to soak these big bit species to get them to drink and all that stuff. Puff adders they'll use a water bowl. You don't need to soak them. And I'm going to tell you why. Literally, you soak them, you stress them out. This is a snake that rarely, if ever sometimes, comes in contact with a body of water. Maybe certain localities do, but a lot of them are from more rocky, brushy terrain, very dry, very hot. And they'll drink morning dew off their bodies, but if they have a water bowl available, they will use that water bowl, trust me. The babies, I start them out in just baby tubs, paper towel, water bowl, hide box, and they do just fine. And I keep puff adders a little bit warmer than the other species. I keep them in between 78 and 82 to 85 degrees, 85 being on the warm end of the tub under a little bit of heat tape, and they do fine. They eat fine. They're really a prolific, strong, simple snake to take care of. But as they grow and mature and you want to exhibit them, I tend to stay away from anything light and fluffy. I don't like aspen. I don't like any kind of pine shavings, any of that stuff, because they got a violent strike and they end up with it in their mouth. And little aspen chips get lodged in their mouth and it will cause an infection. So I go with either a sandy type soil substrate. I mean, actually topsoil is fine, with a little bit of river gravel, pea gravel on top of it for my exhibit. But off exhibit, I use just cypress mulch. I use cypress mulch on a lot of stuff, and it's always the go-to. Cypress mulch is safe. It's the go-to. I had somebody just message me recently and ask me about substrate. I'm like, if you're not on exhibit, paper, newspaper, or paper towels is always best. I like paper above everything. It's sterile, it's quick and easy to clean up, but I said, or cypress mulch. And let me tell you, this is important. On puff adders, you make sure that cypress mulch is dry. I'll set an exhibit up with any animal. I'll let the mulch dry out. Let it dry out for a week, because you don't want to keep any animal in a contained box on wet substrate. That's where you create problems. And puff adders do get respiratory. If you keep puff adders wet, you'll kill them. And that's a fact. You do not spray puff adders. If you missed a puff adder and you do that once a week, you're going to hurt that animal. They're not used to that type of humidity. They're used to a drier kind of heat. So this animal never gets misted. Never, ever in her life have I misted her. I get perfect sheds from her. No extra humidity, a little bit drier. We just gave a shed of hers to one of our customers to come in. It's a young man who collects shed skins, and he was like, wow, that thing's huge and it's perfect. On an adult, I like them at about 78 degrees is good, but I give Puffs a good hot spot. I mean, she's got a heat bulb in there and a little spot, and it gets about 85 to 88 degrees in her hot spot. And she's been operating like that for years. She's 8 or 9 years old now, and she better be gravid. Breeding puffs is pretty simple. I breed all my bitted stuff in the summer. Literally in the middle of summer. I just turn off their heat source, the air conditioning is running, and I let them just get cooler. And it's pretty simple. And I just let them cool down, and males just become active, especially if it's a little bit cooler. Gestation, they breed in the middle of summer, late fall, and I usually don't see babies till the next year. I see them usually around the end of summer, cooling them down in the summer. It works for me. That's just the way I do it. It's worked for me with puffs, with gaboons, with rhinos, feeding puffs. I don't keep snakes on a feeding schedule ever. I feed on what I call a broken schedule. I mean, I'll feed them 3 weeks, 4 weeks, good sized meal, let them go 3-4 weeks, feed them again, maybe 6-8 weeks, feed them again. It's always scattered. Or I just kind of look at a snake and see if it needs to be fed. If it starts getting really active and prodding around and it's hunting, I'll go ahead and feed it because I know it's hungry. The big ones like this, I'll give her a medium to large rat once a month, once every 6 weeks. And sometimes I'll skip it. I'll let her go 2 months without eating. This is a snake that is very opportunistic. It will eat other things than rodents. They don't need a whole lot. If you overfeed a puff, you can impact them. They get impacted, just like gaboons or rhinos. And everybody's into that thing. Well, feed them once a week, put them in water, soak them, and swim them, and get them to defecate. You don't need to do none of that nonsense. Don't think that overfeeding them is good for them, because it's not. It's really not. Don't try to grow them fast. If you try to grow them fast, you're going to hurt them. Grow them slow and steady. It's better for the animal. It's better for its health. So just little tips, guys. Don't overfeed your stuff. Don't keep your stuff wet. That goes for gaboons and rhinos also. We'll get into that when we get to them species. But just a little tips to keep them healthy. And one last thing is don't ever feed them after midnight. Just use common sense and your animals will thrive. But keep your puff adders dry and warm. Hey, don't run off, because we got some fangs in your face action coming up.
Okay, we're going to start the night out with this big male gaboon here. And he's right at the edge, so we're going to have to kind of go at him frontwards here. We're going to give him a little bit of vibration. When I'm feeding gaboons, I'll usually tap that prey at him around out in front of him a little bit, send some vibration over to him. Let him get a good smell of that, because gaboons are sight and smell hunters. And then I'll go ahead and inch it in, and I can see he's getting ready. He's getting ready to bang. And then when we get it close enough, pow! There's the hit. And then we'll get one over to the female that we put in that side of the exhibit next. See, you notice, and she's already striking and there's nothing in front of her. You'll notice I've got some of this foliage, these plants hanging. They've got shade spots in here, even around their heat source. That's their heat source up there. That's their little hot spot, and the rest of the exhibit stays pretty cool. But we've got really big plants for nice shade spots if they want to warm up but still stay in the shade and not underneath that hot spot. So think it through when you're setting up your exhibits. Have a lot of options for your animals to choose where they want to be. Alright, I'm kind of in a crazy position here. I'm going to have to reach in here sideways and feed this female. But she is ready to rock and roll. She already smells the rats in the air and she's ready to rumble. Oh, hey, okay, big girl, give me my tongs back. Let's give her a little shake there. Let's straighten this darn thing up. She's right on the edge of the exhibit, y'all. But she hit that one pretty hard. Then we go over here and we see big boy. He's already chomping his down. Of course, he's got his head underneath the shade spot, so. But let's move on. Let's feed the puff adder. Okay, this puff adder is in a perfect position. It is facing us. So I got to kind of reach in this exhibit and let her get locked on this prey item. Oh, wow, she hit that thing hard. bit of movement there. Man, they are fast. Puff adders are just extremely fast. There you go, big girl. And you got to think about when you're setting up an exhibit for an animal like this that's fairly large and heavy bodied. Everything's got to be anchored in place. This stuff is all kind of screwed together and then set in here. And we did have it pretty pimped out with some pampas grass and stuff, but she just mows it over. So when you got a big powerful animal like this, your exhibits kind of stay a little bit simple because they just destroy them. So you kind of make it as cool as possible, but just for what the snake needs: a good hide, good hot spot, water bowl. But there you go, girl. Your first rat after eating my mail. All right, let's give the rhino vipers a shot. Oh, he's already getting defensive, and that's not good. Oh! And that is a defensive warning, like, don't mess with me. He just headbutted that rat. Oh, there you go. There's the bite. That kind of spooked me, y'all. Alright, this big monster female Bothrops Leocorus is in a perfect position to film a strike, so we're gonna line this up. I'm gonna send her some vibration over there. Oh, you passed it up, girl. What was that? Oh, there you go. She's really getting old. She's getting clumsy. There you go, sweetie. There's your rat. That was funny. That is a big old fer de lance right there. That's the Bothrops Leocorus. That's the female. Alright, just for good measure, we got a hungry Muda. Big old Bushmaster, big 9-foot Bushmaster way back there. Here he comes. He's coming in hot. Come on, buddy. Oh, that was cool. He hit it, but he dropped it, but he definitely lit it up. All right, let's give this a shot. Oh my goodness.
This snake's kind of in the wrong position to film a strike, so I just kind of reached over it sideways to get it to her. And Dan McCarty, that's your sponsored animal. That is Evelyn. Let me go over here where it's safe. Crazy ass snake. Come out here sideways. That is a crowless Zobcon, a Yucatan rattlesnake. Alright, we're going to reach into this beautiful timber rattlesnake, canebrake rattlesnake. And she is poised in position right there. I don't know if you can see her all back there, because I got to do a far stretch for this one. But we're going to make her come for it. And here she comes. Oh, another one. Double tap. That is just a mean rattlesnake right there. She is gorgeous though. It's probably one of the prettiest canebrakes I've ever seen. Alright, I've got a big Dorissus striking at me like crazy. And she is hungry. This is gonna be a good one. Oh, nice! Here you go, big girl. You need a tropical rattlesnake, Crotus dorissus. Well, it's not a pit viper, but just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and see if we can get this monocle to perform. Jesus. The snakes are in rare form tonight. That snake came out of there like a damn rocket. Wow. That is a big old ballistic monocle cobra right there. Thanks, Rhett. My buddy down there from Toby's troop, Rhett Stanberry. He donated the snake to the Serpent Center. She's big. She's about a 5.5, 6 foot, just normal monocle cobra. But she's healthy. I put some size and some weight on her here in the past 6 months. I've been throwing the groceries to her. I want her really big for exhibit, but she's a cool snake. Hey y'all, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. But keep an eye out for part 2, and we'll do the Rhino Vipers and the Gaboon Vipers. So, hey, this is Willie from Venom Central Serpent Center. We're checking out. Later.